Welcome to Weekly Text-Based Tanya. We are on chapter 47. Chapter 47 is a continuation of 46. It really is a continuation. Some chapters bring out new ideas. Since chapter 41, we've been speaking about awe and love and various meditations to induce various levels and types of awe and love. And each chapter brings a different type of awe and love. Chapter 47 isn't bringing out anything new beyond what we were already introduced to in 46. It's going deeper. So let's just review 46. 47 is a very short chapter. I think it's the shortest chapter in Tanya. So let's just review 46. In chapter 46, well, first of all, let me quiz you. Since chapter 41, everything we've been learning is about awe or love. So chapter 46, you have a 50-50 shot of getting this right. Was chapter 46 about awe or love?
Both.
Everything's always about both.
Reciprocating love.
So awe or love?
Love.
Okay, answer one question at a time. Okay,
Love.
Now, what particular type of love?
Reciprocating.
Reciprocating love, okay. And reciprocating love means, tell me how it works in one sentence. How does it work? Reciprocating love?
You love because of something you've received or something?
Yeah, you love as a response to feeling loved. And we said it's a really nifty trick because it's built in. It's the nature of the human heart.
Is that the Kiddush HaElyon?
No.
No. Sorry.
It is Kalev, Kamaim Aponim Alponim, Kain Lev Ha'ish El Ha'ish. Just like water reflects a face back to a face, the face that the water reflects to you is the face that's looking at it. So too, the heart mirrors back the emotions that are projected toward it. So when you feel loved, you feel loving toward the one who is making you feel loved. And we said it's just a built-in trigger. That's just the way we were made. And we also said that happens no matter who shows you love. But if there's a discrepancy between the beloved and the lover, meaning the lover is on a higher level than the beloved, then it's going to compound the effect. It will only amplify the feeling. Wow, this great person loves me, and then the reciprocal response is that much more intensified. Okay, so we said that the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim is a story of love. It's a love story. Not a romantic love story. We have those. We have Shir Hashirim, Ani L'Deidi V'Deidi Li, is a man and a woman. But this is a bromance between... I did not coin that term. It's a real phrase. This is a bromance between... Do you remember who are our... I learned a new term this week, but I forgot it. The term when you have two protagonists. You guys always put out water for me.
I know, we couldn't find any.
Waiter,
Should I
taste
get
my
from
soup.
the sink?
I'll
get from the sink.
I need to
And
get
get-
iced coffee because this is making me. I'll go get water.
You get water?
See if the size is that.
Oh, no, the term is deuteragonist. 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 Okay, I'm
You
sorry.
didn't remember.
Deuteragonist. I'm sorry, the term is deuteragonist, and deuteragonist is the person of secondary importance. Deuteragonist. It's like Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy is Mishnah Torah, is the repetition of the Torah.
Is that like a second child?
The second, well,
Am I a
sometimes
Deuteronomist?
Are you a second child?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes the second child is the golden child, though, and the
Batman and Robin.
like Batman and Robin. Yeah, Robin would be the deuteragonist. Very good.
You're too young for that.
I mean, not really. Like Batman and Robin. You know, Robin and Batman.
Right. So,
It's like a middle name.
okay. But anyways,
The first and second and fourth. It doesn't say that they're equal, though.
yeah, I know. I was wrong. Okay. So in chapter 47, in the bromance, who are the two characters? In the characters in the bromance, in the mushal, in the mushal.
And the person sitting on the pile of.
So there was the guy sitting on the garbage heap, yeah, and there was the king.
Right.
Okay. And that symbolizes Hashem and us. Yeah. Okay. And the story of the king coming down to the garbage heap and taking the guy off the garbage heap and bringing him to the palace and hugging him and kissing him. This is really the story of Hashem coming down to Mitzrayim, the most lewd place in the world, and personally redeeming us, and not just taking us out of that terrible place, but bringing us to Har Sinai, which means to intimate union with him. And the kisses and the hugs are the Torah and the mitzvahs that we use to unite with him. So that was Perek Mem Vav. That was chapter 46. Okay, now I'm going to warn everyone here. I'm a very intolerant teacher. I'm going to tell you already what I've been thinking about for an hour is going to ruin my day. Won't ruin my day, but it'll annoy me for 5 seconds.
Doesn't have to do with us, does it?
Yes, it does.
Oh.
That's why I'm telling you.
It's not good.
If anybody says to me, no, you can interrupt, it's okay. If anybody says that the idea in this chapter is obvious, I'm going to be very upset. And I'll tell you why. Because it's 2023. There are no new ideas. Everything here has already been proliferated in the world. So don't try to show off by saying it's obvious. It's obvious now. It's like someone watching a Charlie Chaplin film being like, that guy's supposed to be so good? Everybody does those moves. Yeah, now. Okay? So please, let's just enjoy it. Let's pretend that you never heard this concept. Don't say to me, I know this is as obvious. Why is it even... At one time, it wasn't obvious. Okay? So let's just enjoy it with fresh eyes and childlike innocent wonder. Could we do that? Okay.
Pretend day.
Okay. V'hinei b'chol der v'der v'chol yom v'yom. The Alter Rebbe adds that. In every generation and every single day. The Alter Rebbe adds every single day. What? What's every generation, every single day? A person is obligated to see himself as if he had left Egypt today. Okay. I mean, that's in the Haggadah. Every single generation, we have to identify with the Exodus story. It's not just something that happened historically. And the Alter Rebbe adds not just in every generation, but every single day. How are we supposed to, this is what I want you to get excited about, or at least don't be cynical about it. Don't be jaded about it. How are we supposed to relate to Yetzias Mitzrayim as something that's happening now? Certainly I can read about it and I can say, wow, that's amazing what Hashem did for us once upon a time. But what has he done for us lately? Okay, so here's how the Alter Rebbe explains it. What does it mean, Yetzias Mitzrayim? Because remember, if you're going to relate to Yetzias Mitzrayim, what's the point of... I just want to contextualize. What's the point of relating to Yetzias Mitzrayim? What's it going to do?
Awaken the love.
Awaken the love. Because Yetzias Mitzrayim, in our context, I don't want to hear any other symbolism of it. It's not relevant right now. What is the one important quality with which we would describe Yetzias Mitzrayim? It is an act of love. And when we think about Yetzias Mitzrayim as an act of love, what's it going to automatically awaken in us? The romance. Yeah, we're going to feel the love. Okay? So that's the whole point here. The only sticky little issue here is, but it happened 3,300 whatever years ago, so how are we supposed to get into it now? Okay, so that's what we're addressing. How are we supposed to get into it now? So this is what he says. Vihi, and this redemption from Egypt is Yitzias hanefesh, or Yitzias nefesh olakis memaiser aguf, moshcha dechivya. It is the soul, the godly soul, escaping its captivity within the body, which is also, and you've heard this term before. It's from the Zohar. The Alter Rebbe uses it sometimes. It's called the serpent's skin. The body is called the serpent's skin. So the soul, the beautiful princess, she is captive in the body. She's stuck there. But Yetzias Mitzrayim, not the historical Yetzias Mitzrayim, but the metaphysical Yetzias Mitzrayim that happens in every generation, and indeed every day, is when the soul escapes, transcends the limitations of embodiment. Likol, to be included within. Beyichud Orein Sof Baruch Hu, the oneness of Hashem. How? How does that happen? Well, generally it's through learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, ubefrat, and especially b'kabbalas malchus shamayim b'krishma, when you receive the yoke of the heavenly kingdom, when you say Shema. Shaba mekabel mamshech olav yichudei yisborach beferish ba'amrei Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Because that, when you say Shema, is when you explicitly receive upon yourself Hashem's oneness and say Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. So when we learn Torah, whenever we learn Torah or do mitzvahs, and especially when we say Shema, we allow the soul to return to a state of oneness. In other words, Yetzias Mitzrayim is happening again, here and now. That's what I didn't want you to have a jaded response to and say, yeah, of course it is. I knew that. Of course Yetzias Mitzrayim is happening every single second. I want you instead to say, wow, Yetzias Mitzrayim is happening, well, potentially, if you allow it to, every single second. That is so inspiring. Okay. You know, I'll tell you about my first world problems. I didn't think those progressive bifocals were working. So I said, you know what, I'm done with the progressives. And I just got the standard prescription where there's no progressive. And now I can't read anything. But I thought the progressives weren't working. I was like, they're not doing anything. Apparently they were. Because did you ever remember me having to take off my glasses? No, I didn't. Okay.
Those are the ones you got in Florida when your other ones were
Well, that's a very good guess, but no. No, the Florida ones were a previous prescription. This is a newer prescription. But I'm glad that you remember the Florida story. That's,
Can I ask you a hopefully not annoying question?
Yes.
The daily or constant Yetzias Mitzrayim that you're saying it
Yeah.
by learning Torah and doing mitzvahs.
Yeah.
That would imply then that is Hashem doing that and not our own accomplishment. Like He came down to Mitzrayim to.
That's a very valid question. Right, because no, I mean, let me restate the question, which is, the whole premise here is we're thinking about something to make us feel taken care of, and we want to feel Hashem is showing us love. But your question is, well, hold on a second. Is Hashem doing this, or am I doing it? I'm the one learning Torah. I'm the one doing mitzvahs. I'm the one saying Shema. Okay, it's a very valid point. But here's No, that's actually a great question. Okay. But the point of this is what Hashem is doing. It's got to be. I mean, that's the whole point here is when I feel loved, when I feel like the object of love, I will feel loving. So here's what you have to focus on. The idea, and this is something we definitely take for granted, the idea that just learning Torah or doing a mitzvah has that effect of uniting you with God, that is not to be taken for granted. Who says that engaging in those activities has to inherently bring about the effect of reuniting the soul with its source? Now, we take it for granted because that's what happens, and it happens every time we do it. But you think it's happening just because you chose to engage in a human activity called Torah study or doing a mitzvah? Devoid of the power that Hashem infuses into it, those activities don't inherently accomplish anything. So what is Hashem doing for us? What Hashem is doing for us is He gave us a carte blanche. He basically said, anytime you want to connect, here it is. I'm giving you the keys. I'm giving you the private number. So that's, you're saying very, very wisely, you're asking, well, hold on a second. I understand the point of this is to meditate on what Hashem is doing for me, not what I'm doing for Him. You're right. So what is Hashem doing for me? He's giving me this constant access that any time I want to just pick up the phone, so to speak, I've got access. Okay, that was an important question. Thank you. Okay, let's continue here. Ukamei shinizbor la'el, and like we explained above, ki alekenu hu kamei alekei Avram v'chulu. When we say our God, like Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, our God, Elokeinu, our God, that's our God the same way we say Elokei Avraham, God of Abraham. When you say God of Abraham, you're saying, oh, Abraham was a pretty holy guy. Or God of Isaac, God of Jacob. When we say Elokeinu, we just gloss it over, but hold on a second. That statement, or the implicit statement, also says something about us. The fact that He's our God. Just like when you say God of Abraham, it's not just a statement about God, it's a statement about Abraham. So when we say Elokeinu, our God, it's not just a statement about God, it's also a statement about us, about who we are. What it means is that the Aves, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they're called, God is called their God because they had this relationship of surrender, of being one with God. And when we say Elokeinu, our God, it means we have that capacity as well of surrender. At least at the moment when we are learning Torah and doing a mitzvah, we're giving ourselves over as a chariot, as a conduit, a vehicle to the divine will. We're not doing what we would normally be doing. We're not asserting our will. We're giving ourselves over to God. So at that moment at least, see, the difference is the Aves were constantly in that state. But for us, at that moment at least, we're also surrendered. Okay. I got to get the progressives again. The only difference is Avram merited to be at that level through his work. How did Avram get that access, to be that surrendered and that united with God? He worked on it. He made his money the old-fashioned way.
Oh,
You know what that is?
I remember that commercial.
What is it? I don't know if it's a commercial.
I thought it was like Smith Barney or something.
He earned it.
Smith Barney, did they?
Yeah, John Houseman.
Close.
Anyways. So Avram Avinu got his bittul the old-fashioned way. He earned it. Was that good, John Houseman?
Yes, very good.
The kids love my John Houseman impression, by the way. It's a big hit with the teens. Told Rabbi Meir I'll start doing teen program and do John Houseman impressions. Teens today, I heard they're very into Paper Chase. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kamesha Kosav Yisa Avram Holech v'Nesaya v'Gomer, like it says, and Abraham traveled southward. He traveled. The south is, it doesn't actually say here, but that means chesed. Don't ask. When you're facing east, which is forward, so south is on your right and right is chesed. The point is that he traveled. Avraham worked his way up to that level. Did we work our way up to that level?
Not really.
No, not really.
Not
We
yet.
are
We have that in.
we are spiritual trust fund babies.
Yeah, but we still have to activate it.
Right.
So there's
Yeah, we still have to activate it. That's right. But we are spiritual trust fund babies. Avram Avinu is the immigrant who comes over and he opens up an apple cart on the Lower East Side.
lives in a tenement.
You know about the guy, you lived in a tenement. You know about the guy, he's an immigrant, and he sees his friend. They haven't seen each other since they came over from the old country. He says, how you doing? And I'm so poor. Oh, how are you? I'm so rich. I'm not telling it well, but, oh, you're rich. How did you become rich? Wow. He's like, well, I'll tell you how I became rich. I came to this land and I saw a man selling apples. And I worked the whole day until I could earn a nickel to buy an apple. And I bought that apple. And I polished that apple. And I polished that apple until it was bright and shiny. I sold that apple for 6 cents. I made a penny profit. And I did that 5 times. And I polished that apple. And I polished that apple. And I sold those 5 apples also for 6 cents. I made 30 cents. And I bought 30 apples and I polished the apple. And I polished the apple until the apple was shiny. Then I sold those apples for 6 cents. And then I bought, you can do the math, whatever, okay. Now he's got like hundreds of apples. And I polished the apple and I polished.
Is this the cart that tumbles or something?
No, he says, I polished the apple. I polished the apple. Then my American cousin died and left me $10,000. Okay. So Avram Avinu, he worked his way up. We inherited it. That's the difference. But the point is we have access. And that's the love that we're supposed to be feeling, is that Hashem gave us this access. He gave us the private number. Anytime we want to call, we get to be one with him. Yes, we have to do something in order to trigger it. But again, don't take for granted the fact that our learning Torah and doing mitzvahs automatically gains that access. I'll say something that's not politically correct, but if there are, there are like 7 or 8 billion non-Jews in the world now. So if a non-Jew decides to put on tefillin, does that afford the same metaphysical effect as a Jew putting on tefillin? No.
It doesn't have the infrastructure, which is the God.
Right, doesn't have that structure behind it. So don't take for granted that when a Jewish person puts on tefillin, that automatically has to accomplish something. We take it for granted.
You're saying
But-
it does or it doesn't?
What doesn't?
It automatically, we automatically.
When a Jewish person does a mitzvah, it automatically accomplishes something. Don't take for granted that it does that. You're acting like, well, I did it. I had to pick up the credit card and swipe it. Yeah, but who's paying the bill?
And when God gives us the number, it's a working number. He picks up. We have.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah. What's your number? 555. You know that trick? You guys don't know about information? I got screamed at for calling 411. You're supposed to use the phone book. Remember 411?
Yeah.
It was so expensive. It was like 10 cents or something. And then the other way to call information was 555. So if you wanted to tell somebody a fake number, you would say 555-3728. No, 9. That makes it look more authentic. 555 was information. Probably still is. You know what? 976, I think, were the paid conference call numbers. Don't call that. You get charged like $20 a minute or something.
You were up to a lot of no good as a youngster.
Because I know that 976 is the paid conference call numbers. I think that's good, clean fun.
Oh.
Okay. Well, what would be no good is you go to somebody's house and you call a 976 number and you leave the phone off the hook.
Oh.
I never did that. I never did that. Or 1-900 numbers. Remember that 1-900 numbers?
Yes.
You
What?
have a few foreigners in the class that have no clue.
Yeah.
All these raise your hand for foreigners.
Okay.
We
All
have
right.
no clue.
Okay. All right. Enough of this American nostalgia.
Oh, sure. No, we're learning a lot.
Okay.
actually.
All right. You know, what you're learning is like pop culture from 30 years ago. So it's not going to help you much. Yeah, it's not going to help you much. All right. All right.
Some of us that were here don't.
Aval anachnu, but us, trust fund babies, Yerusha matana hilanu. We got it as a bequest. We got it as a gift. We didn't earn it. Shenasan lanu es teirasa. He gave us his Torah. V'hilbish barer tzayin v'chochmas yisbarach. And he put within his Torah his will and wisdom. And his will and wisdom are completely one with him. In other words, he gave us the vehicle through which to become one with him. The Torah has within it his will and his will and wisdom are one with him. And through Torah we become one with him. He gave us that access. And therefore it is like he gave us himself. Torah is not a book written by God. Torah is God in book form. Hashem gave us himself. He didn't give us Torah, he gave us himself through the Torah. Or like we say, Anoichi, the first word of the Ten Commandments, I am the Lord your God, is the Rosh Hashanah, is the acronym Anon Nafshi Ksavis Yehavis. I gave myself, I wrote myself and gave myself through Torah. But he doesn't say Anon Nafshi Ksavis Yehavis. Over here he says a different proof. He says, like the Zohar says, V'yikhuli Truma, Deli Kleimerasi, you know where it says in Parshas Truma, bring me Truma, or take from me Truma. So he reads it, the Zohar reads it literally. Take me. Take me. Like, throw your mother down the stairs a towel. Right? Which is the direct object, which is the indirect object. So, take me Truma. Normally, the pshat way to read that verse, V'yikhuli Truma, is Hashem is saying, Truma, the donations are the direct object. Li, for me, is the indirect object. Like, get it for me.
There's a better one. It says,
What?
I baked my mother in the oven a cake.
I baked my mother in the oven a cake.
I
That-
baked my mother in the oven a cake.
Right.
Whoever speaks
That's
Yiddish
the
says-
right. That's the prepositional phrase. Yeah, that's the misplacement of the prepositional phrase. Yes. The point is, the Zohar reads it that Li is the direct object. Not take a gift for me. Take me. Hashem says to us, take me. Here's how to take me. Here's how to get me. In other words, don't take a donation. Truma means a donation for me. It means take a donation and take me. Look there in the Zohar well, but it's one and the same. Take the donation, take me, it's all one thing. The point is that Hashem gave us access to Him. To Him. And that's what we mean when we say, You could read it like this: V'titan lanu Hashem Elokeinu b'yava chulu. Hashem gave us in love whatever He gave us. Or you could say Hashem gave us. He gave us Hashem in love. He gave us Himself. Ki ba'or panecha nasata lanu Hashem Elokeinu chulu. Because in the light of your face, you gave us Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem Elokeinu here is the object, not the subject. Not the Lord our God gave us, but He gave us the Lord our God. Hashem gave us Hashem. He gave us Himself, meaning He gave us access to be one with Him. Now Avram was one with Him because Avram worked on that relationship. We have access because Hashem gifted it to us. And this is what is, again, remember the context of chapter 47. What's the whole point here? What's the whole point? Whose love?
Hashem.
Hashem's love for us. So where do we see Hashem's love for us? This access that He's giving us. And accordingly, there's nothing preventing us from being one with Hashem except for your will. If a person doesn't want at all to be one with Hashem, to cleave to Hashem, God forbid, he doesn't even finish the sentence because it's so horrific. Who's stopping you? Oh, I want to be one with Hashem. Okay, great. Who's stopping you? He gave us he gave us 24/7 access. The only thing, if you're not one with Hashem right now, you're choosing not to be. But immediately, when you do make that choice to receive Hashem upon you and you say, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, then immediately your soul becomes one with Hashem, and a soul draws forth a soul, a reciprocal action of another type, that when we reach out, He responds. And this is an exodus. So that's the answer to the question of, okay, chapter 46 builds me up to get all emotionally worked up about the story of the Exodus, but hold on a second, the Exodus happened so long ago, and the answer of chapter 47, and we're going to all be blown away by this, I'm going to pretend we never heard this before, is that Yetzias Mitzrayim is happening every day, and in fact, it could happen all day long. It can happen all day long. And anytime we choose to transcend our current situation, whatever our situation may be, whatever the conditions of our embodiment may be at this moment, there's nothing preventing us from choosing oneness with Hashem at this moment, because He gave us that access. We don't have to say, oh, let's see if there's access available right now. Oh, there's no Wi-Fi. Well, wait, I'll get in touch with you when I'm in a better spot, when there's no connection out here. There's no reception. Wait until I'm in a better spot. No such thing. He gave us constant access. The only thing preventing it is our own will. If we don't want, then of course we have free choice. But as soon as we want, we have that access immediately, and nobody says, hold on a second, let's see if he has time for you. Well, he's very booked up right now. Oh, it's very convenient that you all of a sudden want to be one with Hashem, but maybe he's booked up. No, that never happens. As soon as you want, He is there. And that's really the point of, you're saying, well, where's the love from Hashem to us? We're the ones doing the mitzvahs and learning the Torah. Yeah, but why are you assuming that learning Torah and doing mitzvahs has that effect of making you one with Hashem? And why are you assuming that it always has the guaranteed effect? So the love of Hashem is the fact that it always has that effect, and it's a guaranteed effect, and that's not to be taken for granted. That's how we are beloved. And of course, then once we recognize how loving that is of Hashem to make that access available at all times, then automatically the response is going to be that we will feel loving toward Him, and that we will translate that love. We always say this anytime we speak about love of Hashem, but it has to be translated into doing loving things for Hashem, which is to do mitzvahs, which is a virtuous circle in this case, because when you realize that by doing mitzvahs, you're one with Hashem, you feel beloved. And then that makes you feel loving. And then by feeling loving toward Hashem, you do mitzvahs. And then you realize, wow, the fact that I'm doing mitzvahs right now, the fact that that makes me one with Hashem is only because I am so beloved. And that makes me feel more loving. And that makes me do more mitzvahs. Okay, let's finish off this chapter. V'lochein, and therefore, tiknu parshas Yitzias Mitzrayim b'shas krishma b'dafka. That's why we read about the Exodus as part of Shema. You ever thought about that? It's funny. Af shehi mitzvah b'fnei atzma. Even though remembering the Exodus is a separate mitzvah. V'loim mitzvahs krishma. It's not part of the mitzvah of Shema. Shema is a mitzvah. Remembering the Exodus is a mitzvah. Why do we put them together? Right, the last paragraph of the Shema is about, it talks about tzitzis, but it also talks about Yitzias Mitzrayim. Why? Why are those put together? And this is a classic question in the Gemara and in the codifiers. Elam, that Alter Rebbe answers mystically, Elam because they're literally the same thing. Shema and the Exodus are one thing. Why? Because they both have the same exact effect, which is whatever your situation of embodiment may be, you can transcend that immediately simply by saying, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem is our God, just like he was Avram, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchok, Elokei Yankiv, so he's Elokeinu. The same level of oneness that the Avos were able to have, we're able to have, not because we earned it like them, but because it was given to us. And Hashem Echad, we become one with him, absolute unity. That's what Shema is, and that's a Yitzias Mitzrayim. Going out of Egypt. The Egypt is the body. The Egypt is the limiting circumstances that the soul is subjected to in embodiment. The Exodus, going out of the Egypt, is the fact that being in a body does not prevent you from being one with Hashem at this moment.
Is that why people say the Shema before they pass on to the next world?
That's a good question. That's a good question. It's just an act of surrender. Yeah, that could very well be the answer. Yeah. Okay, we got one line here. V'chein b'seif parshas Yitzias Mitzrayim Yisayim gam ken ani Hashem Elokeichem. Also, at the very end of Shema, it ends, the last words, ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am the Lord your God. V'hainu gam ken commission is bar le'el, and it's the same thing we said before about Hashem Elokeinu. At the end, Hashem says, ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am your God. Meaning, just like Elokei Avram, that Avram belonged to God. He had that level of surrender. He became one to God, one with God in that manner. So Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Hashem says, I'm giving you the same access. Same access that Avram had, you have. And again, just to repeat it, not to belabor the point, but when we realize that we have this access, how does it make us feel?
More loved.
Loved, yeah. And when we feel loved, what automatically happens?
We will love more.
We feel loving back toward the one who loves us. And that's it. So this is a method toward feeling more love toward Hashem. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay, that's the end of chapter 47.